In this lesson, we are going to be creating a function that's going to be used to find the closest waypoint so that we can set that as the target for our enemy. So let's go ahead and go into MonoDevelop, going into my enemy behavior script, and we're going to add a couple new variables. So the first one is going to be a private game object, and it's going to be the current target. So this is what we're going to be setting to be which of the waypoints we want to go towards. So current target. And then the other variable, another private variable, and we're going to call this one, it's going to be an int, it's going to be called index of closest. So that's what we're going to use to store the index of the closest. So now with that, let's go ahead and create our function, and it's going to not be a void function. Void functions return nothing, but this one is going to be a int function. It's going to return an int. That's going to be its return type. And we're going to call it find index of closest. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to set a variable, because we're going to have to go through and we're going to have to search all of the waypoints and figure out which one's the closest. So we need to have a variable. It's going to be a float. It's going to keep track of which one's closest. So we're going to call this closest distance. And we're going to set this equal to int.max value. So it's going to set it to a very high number. You can see it over here. This is the number it's going to set it to. And that's just making sure that we're going to get something returned. It's not like I could just put in a really high number. We want to have this set to a really high number to start off with, so that we can immediately get, okay, now the first waypoint is of course the closest, from what we've looked at so far. And that what I'm explaining should become more apparent here in a second. What we're going to do is we're going to create a for loop. So for I, or int, gotta give it a type, I equals 0. We're going to check to see if I is less than waypoints.length, because that's what we're going through. We're going through all the waypoints, and waypoints.length. And as we go through, we're going to, of course, increment I by 1. So I++ will increment it by 1 each time it goes through. And now what we're going to do each time is we are going to check to see if the distance between the object this is attached to, so our enemy, is checking to see the distance between our enemy and whatever waypoint we're at in our waypoint array. If that distance is less than the closest distance, and if that's true, then we're going to need to set the index of closest to that index, as well as change what is the closest distance value, because that's what we're using to figure out, okay, is this index the closest? Which is why we set this to such a high value to start off with, to be sure that we're going to get something, some waypoint that is assigned to the index of closest. So let's go ahead and put this in. So we need our if, and we're going to be checking distance between two vector 3's, so we can use the vector3 dot distance function. This will find the distance between two vectors. Right there, you can sort of see it coming up. And so the first one is this dot transform, because we're using this game object, the enemy. That's what this is attached to. Dot position. That'll be our point A. Then I'm going to put a comma, so we're going to put in our second argument here. And our second argument is, of course, going to be waypoints. If I can spell it. Waypoints at I, so that's where we are in the for loop, and just say dot transform dot position, because remember this is a game object array, so we need to make sure we get down to that position for that as well. Okay, cool. So we have that, and we need to check to see if this is greater than, or sorry, less than. We need to see if it's less than the current closest distance. So if that is true, then let's close this out and go ahead and put some brackets here. If that is true, then we need to assign the index of closest to be equal to I, as well as set closest distance to be equal to, and I'm just going to go ahead and copy it from over here, to the distance between that waypoint that's the closest one and of course our enemy. So do that, and I'm just going to make this a little cleaner, put a space there. So cool, that should get that. And then once we've gone through all of this and we've gotten whichever one is the closest, because, you know, say if the second one is the closest, then it's not going to set index of closest to any of the other ones after that. It's just going to have it set to that. That's going to be the closest one, assuming it is. And so once we've gone through all of that, we need to go here and we need to return the index of closest. So let's go ahead and do that. So return, you got to make sure you use the keyword return, and we're returning index of closest. Just close that out. And now in our start function, we can go ahead and use this function. I'm going to say current target is equal to waypoints at, and now we can call the function right in here between these brackets, okay? We're going to say find index of closest, and then put our parentheses there, and then make sure you put a semicolon at the end of this all. And now you see it's running all this code in here and then returning that number. So what this is essentially equal to is just a number. Whatever number gets returned here. So with that, we should be getting our current target assigned to whatever is closest waypoint. Now, in our update where we're setting the destination, let's go ahead and update that. This is going to be equal to the current target. So just go ahead and get rid of this and replace it with current target, save it, and now let's go back over into Unity. Now we only have one waypoint right now, which isn't going to be all that useful for testing this. So let's go ahead and actually fix the error that we're having. We're having an error, and it seemed like we were because I wasn't getting some things auto-completed. Current target, of course, this is a game object, so we need to make sure we do .transform.position, making sure that we are giving it a position, not just a game object, as that is not accepted as a valid argument. And there we go. Okay, we're good now. So let's go back into project if I can. Oh, it's compiling. There we go. Back into project. Okay, so we have our waypoint, which is cool. Let's make more of them. But before I just duplicate this, I want to create a new folder to store our prefabs. So create folder prefabs. And I'm going to go ahead and go into it and drag our waypoint in here. Cool, so now it's prefabbed. I'm going to duplicate this, Control D, I have it selected, Control D. Then I'm going to drag this pretty far away. And then I'm going to duplicate again, drag it pretty far away, duplicate again, same thing, even move it this way a bit, duplicate again. I'm going to drag along the two axes by grabbing that plane, doing that, and then maybe just one more time, and move it over here, back this way a little bit, back that way a little bit. Okay, cool. That's pretty good. We have a bunch of waypoints now. Let's go ahead and assign them to our waypoint array. So right now we have nothing assigned. I guess that got broken at some point. Let's go ahead and reassign that. Or if you do it like that, it'll add a new element, so I'll do it like this. Okay, and let's go ahead and I'm going to just lock this, and I'm going to change this back down to 1 so we get only 1 in here. And I'm going to assign a bunch of these at once. So as I have this locked, I can select all of those and drag them over here. And there we go. That is okay for now, anyway. Cool. So let's go ahead and I'm going to move our guy maybe over here and see what he goes to. So press play. And it looks like it is moving to the closest one there. Let's go ahead and test it one more time. Make sure everything's working pretty good. See which one is chosen here. And it looks like it's working. So that's it for this lesson. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.